Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge and welcome to Bunches of Lunches. If this is your first time here, welcome. On this channel, I share all things related to food, family, and fun. And every single week, I like to share creative lunch ideas that you can make yourself. This week, I decided to try the ABC Lunch Challenge when making lunches for my kids. What is the ABC Lunch Challenge, you might ask? Well, it's based on the letter lunch series that I've made on this channel. That's where each lunch is completely themed around just one letter. I had so much fun making those videos, and over the years they've had millions and millions of views. For this challenge, however, instead of focusing on just one letter at a time, I'm going to try to include 5 to 6 letters per lunch, and I'm going to try to follow my normal lunch pattern. When I'm creating a lunch, I like to include a main course, a fruit, a vegetable, a side, a treat, and a drink. Now you guys, let me know in the comments down below right now if you think I'll be able to successfully complete this challenge. And before we get started, if you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit that red subscribe button. That way you can become part of the Fudge family. Okay guys, so I'm kicking things off with a lunch for my oldest daughter, Mackenzie. She is 11 years old, and for her lunch I have to include letters A to F. For her main course, I'm going to start by making an almond butter sandwich. So I'm just going to spread a good amount of this almond butter all over this first piece of bread. And I know what you might be thinking. What is up with this almond butter? Why does it look so chunky? Well, I didn't have any almond butter that was plain. I only had the kind that also had chia seeds and flax seeds in there. So yeah, that's why this looks a little bit weird. It is extra crunchy, but it should be delicious. Now to go along with this A-themed sandwich, I'm also going to add in some apricot jam. Seriously, you guys, apricot jam is one of my all-time favorites. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to make some homemade apricot jam from her tree, from her backyard. So it always gives me some good memories anytime I try it. I would love to know in the comments down below, what is your favorite flavor of jam? So now I'm going to slap these two pieces of bread together. This is a really good quality farmhouse style bread, but unfortunately it's a little bit too big to fit into Mackenzie's lunchbox. So I am going to go ahead and trim off part of the crust, that way it'll fit a lot better. And then I'm also going to go ahead and cut this sandwich into fingers. So Mackenzie will be left with 3 long rectangle-shaped pieces of sandwich. Now I'm going to very gently add this to the lunchbox and then move on to the fruit. Now since we're at letter B, I decided to go with blueberries. Now with these, all I'm going to do is give them a good wash. I'm going to make sure to pick out any little stems that might be left in here. Then I can go ahead and add them into Mackenzie's lunchbox. Now that brings us to letter C, and since we are on a vegetable, that means carrots. Now you guys, I usually love to make crinkle cut carrots, but for this lunch I decided to make mini ones. These are actually really easy to make. I just get this crinkle cutter from Amazon, and I will go ahead and link that down below if you want to get one for yourself. So now I'm going to go ahead and fit as many of these carrots into Mackenzie's lunchbox as possible. I really debated on whether I should be adding ranch in here or not, but I decided not to because that would kind of be breaking the rules, because we're only on letter D now. And speaking of letter D, I'm on the snack category, so I decided to add in some Doritos. Now, I was hoping to find the new 3D shaped Doritos, but I couldn't find them anywhere. You guys will have to let me know if you've had a chance to try them yet. For this lunch, I decided to just go with the regular nacho cheese flavor. And then I'm going to move on to the letter E, and that is in the treat category. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love these eggs. They are made of chocolate. I cannot believe that the stores already have Easter candy out. I feel like last week was just Valentine's Day and we're already moved on to Easter, but I can't complain. I love all holidays, even if they come early. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw all of these eggs into Mackenzie's lunchbox, and then last but not least, I'm going to be adding in her drink, And since we are on letter F, I decided to go with some fruit punch. This fruit punch has the Hello Kitty topper on it because Mackenzie is my child that really loves Hello Kitty. And there you have it, guys. I would say this lunch was a complete success. I was able to get all of the letters in here and all of the categories, but now the true test is to see if Mackenzie likes it or not.
I really liked the sandwich and the chocolate eggs, but I didn't really like the blueberries.
Why?
Because they were very, very sour. I give it a thumbs up.
Next up, I'm going to be making my son Jackson's lunch. Jackson is 9 years old, and for his lunch, I have to include from letters G to L. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I actually struggled quite a bit trying to find a G-themed food that would be a good main course, but I ended up deciding to go with some gyoza. Now, you guys, gyoza are just like dumplings or pot stickers. Thankfully, I know Jackson loves these, so I know he's gonna be happy to see these in his lunch. Now, I buy these frozen, and my favorite place to buy them is at Trader Joe's. They are so good. You can get veggie ones, chicken ones, or even pork ones. And to cook these, I just start with a little bit of oil in my pan. I add in my gyoza until they're browned on one side. Then I add a little bit of water, and I add my lid for a couple more minutes so they can steam all the way through. Now, I know these gyoza look a little bit dark. I did overcook them slightly. They are still going to taste really good, but they're not going to taste quite as good as the ones I used to get when I lived in Japan. And for his fruit, since we are on the letter H, I decided to go with some honeydew melon. With this honeydew melon, I'm going to go ahead and just cut it in half, scrape out the seeds, and then here comes the fun part. As you can see, I have quite the collection of melon ballers. I have pretty much every shape and every size available, so I'm going to go ahead and scoop out as many honeydew melon balls as I can. This is actually really easy to do. You just have to have a nice ripe melon. I just stick my melon baller into the side, I twist around, and out comes a ball. Now, I know this might seem extra to a lot of people, and that's fine. You could definitely just chop up your honeydew, and that would still be delicious. But for me, I love making fruits and vegetables look extra special. In fact, before I had kids, I actually worked at Edible Arrangements, so it was my job to make fruit and veggies look beautiful. So this isn't out of the ordinary. For me, I actually enjoy doing it. Okay guys, now moving on from the fruit. I know I was talking about the fruit forever. Now we are on veggie, and we're also on the letter I. So the only veggie I could think of that Jackson would actually eat was iceberg lettuce. So I'm gonna go ahead and build him a teeny tiny mini salad. In here I'm just adding the iceberg lettuce. I'm going to add in just a couple of croutons. And because you can't have salad without salad dressing, I'm also going to sneak in a little container of ranch. So now we are on the letter J, and we're in the snack category. So I decided to go with these jalapeno kettle chips. Now I know Jackson enjoys kettle chips. Those are the ones that are cooked extra long. They're kind of hard, but I'm not quite sure if he's going to like the jalapeno part. It may be too spicy for him. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm just gonna add a few of these chips in here, and then I'm going to move on to the treat. Now, since we are on the letter K, I automatically thought of key lime pie. I decided to go with this key lime pie flavored Greek yogurt. But as you can see, this has been sitting in my fridge for quite a while. It's not expired or anything, but it is definitely needing a good mix. It's looking a little bit separated, so I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up really well until all of the lumps are out. And now it is looking beautiful. And now, last but not least, for the drink and for the letter L, I decided to go with some lemonade. And there you have it, guys. This is definitely not the most beautiful or most colorful looking lunch, but I'm pretty sure Jackson will like all of these foods. And as far as making sure that I had all of the letters and all of the categories, this lunch was totally a success. But of course, I'm going to go ahead and let Jackson give this a try, and then he'll tell us what he thinks.
I really like those. I like the honeydew melon, but I didn't really like the chip.
Were they too spicy or too hard?
Hard and spicy.
Both? Okay guys, now that brings me to my daughter Lily's lunch. Lily is 7 years old and she happens to be one of my pickier eaters, which is going to make this lunch a little bit more challenging. And her lunch has to include letters M through R. Now you guys, I totally lucked out on the main course for Lily's lunch since it is the letter M and I know she loves mac and cheese. Now to make this lunch extra special, I decided to go with the Wacky Mac. Now this kind of mac and cheese can actually be kind of hard to find sometimes. I usually find it either at Target or Walmart. And the reason it's called Wacky Mac is because it includes lots of different shaped pastas. So there's little wheels in there, curly pasta, shells, and there's the regular like straight pasta. Now this mac and cheese cooks up just like any boxed mac and cheese does, and then I can add it into Lily's lunchbox. So now that the main course is done, I can move on to the fruit. And since we are on the letter N, I decided to go with a navel orange. Now this is going to be perfect for Lily's lunch because she absolutely loves orange smiles. And you guys, to make my orange smiles, I start by cutting off the end, then I cut down the center of the orange. Now I take each half and I very carefully cut wedges out of each side. So now I'm going to fit as many of these pieces in here as I can and then move on to the veggie. And you guys, here is where I'm going to be failing. Since we are on the letter O, I decided to go with olives, but unfortunately, olives are technically a fruit. Since I couldn't think of any other vegetable that Lily would eat that started with an O, I guess this is just gonna have to be okay. Now you guys, definitely let me know in the comments down below if you can think of any vegetables that start with the letter O. Now that brings us to the snack category. And since we are on the letter P, I thought these peanut butter filled pretzels would be perfect. And you guys, these are just the regular pretzels on the outside. They're not covered in chocolate or anything. They have a little bit of salt on the outside and then of course the peanut butter in the middle. I'm going to add about a handful of these into the lunchbox. And then I'm gonna have to get really creative with the sweet treat because we're on the letter Q. So what I decided to do was make a quesadilla, since that starts with Q, but I decided to make a dessert version and I'm gonna make it in the tortilla hack style. Now I did decide to use a smaller size tortilla here. So on here I'm just going to be adding some Nutella, some mini marshmallows, a couple pieces of graham cracker. Then I'm just going to fold each of these sections over like this. And check it out, you guys, I have a little tiny baby dessert quesadilla. To kind of seal this together and to get the marshmallows melted, I'm just going to cook this in my pan for a couple of minutes on each side. And then to get this to fit a little bit better in Lily's lunchbox, I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. And now finally moving on to the drink category. Since we are on the letter R, I decided to go with these Crocodile Red Kool-Aid pouches. Now this is definitely not something that I buy super often, but I know Lily will be super excited to see these. Plus, I think these are really cool with the retro style because this is what juice pouches looked like when I was a kid. And there you have it, guys. Now again, this lunch isn't the most beautiful or the most colorful, and with the exception of the olives, which technically aren't a vegetable, I would give this lunch a B+.
I really like the orange smiles, but my favorite was the s'mores quesadilla.
Now moving on to my youngest son Griffin's lunch. Griffin is 4 years old and his lunch is definitely going to be my most challenging because I have to include from letters S all the way to Z. So his lunch is going to have a little bit more, that way we can get all of the letters in. So starting with the main course and the letter S, I decided to go with some salami. And instead of making a whole sandwich, since there's a lot of other things going into this lunch, I decided to just roll up the salami slices and then add them to this cute dinosaur pic. For the fruit and for letter T, I'm going to be adding in a tangerine. And for the letter U, I'm going to be adding in some unsalted nuts. Now, I know that's kind of a stretch, but it kind of works. It's the letter U. To represent the letter V, I'm going to be adding in some vanilla pudding. These pudding cups have been sitting in my pantry for quite a long time, so I am going to need to go ahead and mix this up as well. That way it looks a little bit more creamy and not so clumpy. To represent the letter W, I'm going to be adding in some watermelon. And just like with the honeydew, I decided to use my melon baller for these as well. I'm going to fit as many of these little balls in here as I can, and then move on to the letter X, which was super hard to come up with. I couldn't think of any foods that started with the letter X that Griffin would actually eat, but I do have some of these leftover Valentine's Day pretzels, and in each bag it comes with an O-shaped pretzel and an X-shaped pretzel. So I'm going to go ahead and add those into the lunch since they do represent the letter X. To represent the letter Y, I'm going to be adding in some yogurt raisins. And to represent the letter Z, I decided to go with these zingers. Now, honestly, I have never tried these before. You guys will have to let me know if you've ever tried them. Basically, to me, it looks like a Twinkie with pink on the outside and coconut. So there you have it, guys. Now, this lunch was definitely my most challenging lunch, and it was kind of a fail. I could not come up with a vegetable, and I could not come up with a drink. And those X pretzels were kind of sketchy. But overall, I think this is a super fun lunch, and I'm pretty sure that Griffin will enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video today, please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.